One good move makes all the difference. The best way to predict future is to create it. Take a move. Create a future. Join Shobhit University.
As a young citizen of India, armed with technology, knowledge, and love for my nation, with a vision of transforming India into a developed nation, I'm joining Shobhit University. What about you?
Sir, you are on mute again.
Sorry. Namaskar. Honorable Professor Ranjit Singh, Vice Chancellor Shobhit University. Today's speaker, Mr. Ambar Raj, all directors, deans, head of departments, faculty members, and participants. A very good afternoon and warm welcome to this interactive webinar on Agile methodology. Shobhit University Gangoh was established in the year 2013 with a mission to promote learning in Indian tradition with an international outlook and a motto of empowering nation through education. I, Dr. Tarun Kumar Sharma, on behalf of Shobhit University family, takes this opportunity to welcome our today's speaker, Mr. Ambar Raj, on this virtual platform to have an interactive session on fail fast, learn faster. We all have heard some quotes related to the topic, like Thomas A. Watson said, if you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. Do not punish failure. Punish not learning from failure. Most of us hesitate and postpone because of our fear of failure. So to have more focused analysis and share the experience and exposure on the topic, we are privileged to have Mr. Ambar Raj with us. Mr. Ambar Raj is a product manager at Pipedrive, a leading IT sales, CRM, and marketing automation providing, helping companies to increase their revenue and helping them to grow. At present, he manages the platform features of Pipedrive. Mr. Raj loves to validate and solve problems in the simplest way as possible and always strive to improve product in the ever-changing technology, user expectations, and innovative solutions. Earlier, he worked for Scientific Games as product manager, a leader in social gambling games. Prior to his MBA degree, he was working with Innovastech and EdTech company as a product and marketing manager. With this brief profile, I would like to invite Mr. Raj to share his experience. Mr. Raj, please.
Thanks, Arun. Now I will share my screen for the presentation.
Please.
And let's move from there. I hope you can see my presentation. So today's topic is fail fast, learn faster. What does it mean? What does it mean in the IT world? What does it mean in my experience? My job as a product manager is to solve problems. And there's a structure to solve problems. In that structure, we ensure that if we have to fail, we fail fast. And there's a need for it. Let's go through the slides now. So the first thing is, everyone have a lot of things, a lot of problems. They want to achieve something. In a private sector, they want to increase profit. They want to get more customers. For our faculty members, they want to motivate students to attend online classes, which is not very easy. For the government, they want to increase, for example, the education level of our youth. So everyone have a problem. It can be at the government level, it can be at the NGO level, it can be at a private level, or it can be in those top-notch companies in the world. And what we normally do when we solve these problems, this is a normal method we apply. There's a problem, we think about it, and then we have a solution. It sounds easy, right? But there's a whole problem in this structure. How we normally do things is we invite some experts. We say, hey, there's a problem, we want to increase our revenue, or we want to increase this in this company. And we invite experts, we invite consultants. They have knowledge, they have everything. We sit in a room, we brainstorm, we come up with the best solution, and then we start implementing it. We dream big, we say that, yeah, we can do this. We have that motivation and we do it. I mean, this sounds all okay, right? So why I'm saying this is not the best way of doing things? Because here, how do you know whether you are solving the right problem? How do you know whether what those experts says is right or wrong? I'm not doubting those experts. I just believe whatever the expert is saying is their opinion. It's not a fact. How do I know how should I implement a solution? So when I think about this whole problem space and how to solve problem and how to fail fast, I divide things into three. One is problem itself, one is solution, and one is implementation of the solution. In this whole presentation, I will tell you a lot of stories about different companies where they failed in each of those departments and why it looks so intuitive, but it is not. The biggest companies in the world have failed doing this. And I will mention what are the biases, why they have failed. So let's hear a story, let's say about a problem first. All of you have heard about the great phone company Nokia. Their sales were falling down. They were worried about it. They checked why our sales are falling down. I mean, everyone knew they were the market leader 10 years back. They captured around 80 to 90% of the world sales phones market. But then what happened? Immediately, I mean, they were a big company. They had all the resources, they had all the money, but they couldn't prevent their market share to go down as much as it is now. It's almost nil. No one talks about Nokia anymore. They were not able to identify the problem. They were just solving the wrong problem. They can have the best experts, they can have the best solutions, they can implement it in the best possible way, but the problem was wrong. And the problem was they were making the best phones, which was completely, at that time, the scenario has changed. Apple, Google, they were not making the best phones. They were making the best infrastructure. They were making the best ecosystem, best software. We didn't like Nokia because of their hardware. I mean, it was the best hardware. There's a joke that if you want to throw a brick, you can just throw the phone and it will break the brick, not the phone. But they didn't recognize the problem is not with their phone, not with the features of the phone, not with the camera of the phone. It was all about that there was Android coming up. The Android ecosystem gave a lot of different things to users, which the hardware was not at all able to give. And they had their own Symbian software. What they had to do, just adopt Android, and they might still be the biggest phone company in the world right now. Didn't happen. Why? I mean, it's a normal question. Why? I mean, they had all the experts. When I know it, all of us at that time kind of knew it. Why they're not bringing Android? I want an Android phone. I don't want Nokia phone. I don't want Samsung phone at that time. I want the Android phone. But they didn't recognize it. We as a population did, which is very weird, right? I have more examples I will cut down here. Again, they were solving the wrong problems. I will give one more example here is WhatsApp. WhatsApp is not a new technology at all. We all used to have Skype. We all know Skype was great. It had great features. It has much more features than Skype. It has an app, but then WhatsApp came and everything was gone. What happened? We will hear this from the product manager of Skype at that time who was working for Skype. Right now, he's my boss. He works for Pipedrive. So it's a story by him. It's a small 1-minute clip.
What was their guiding principle, if you like? What was the question they were asking themselves that kind of laid that path? And Mike, what was their guiding principle, if you like? What was the question they were asking themselves that kind of laid that path? And my contention is they were asking themselves, how do we reduce time to first conversation to almost nothing? Because they knew if they could do that, job done, right? And just to put this into perspective, at Skype, we had 1,000 people working at Skype. WhatsApp at the time of the Facebook acquisition had 55. So think about that. $19 billion, 55 employees. I mean, really? We spent all that time at Skype working on these features. Interesting.
So what happened here? The main thing what happened was Skype was focused on features. There were 1,000 people working for Skype under Microsoft, doing great job. And what WhatsApp did? There was no requirement for login. It provided WhatsApp to everyone, and there was zero time to start conversing on WhatsApp. This small thing changed the whole ecosystem for WhatsApp and for Skype. Skype could have built features like group calling, group messaging, you can upload stuff, but people were not adopting it just because they were solving the wrong question, and they asked the wrong questions to consumers that, hey, what do you want? And they were like, hey, we want this, we want that, and we want all the things in the world. But no one told them that for the new customers, which are not yet customers, they didn't want to log in and make account and then change passwords and put the security. WhatsApp came, made it as simple as possible. You download it, you start talking. It will even take the contacts from your contacts list of phone. Game over. And himself, like, by the time they came to know they are solving the wrong problem, the game was over for them. Skype is no more out there. So one thing here is we have to solve the right problem. Give you an example of Nokia. Same thing for Reliance. What Reliance thought, not this Reliance, but the previous Reliance, which we now remember in our memory maybe. What happened 5-6 years back, the Reliance communication, it just went bankrupt. What happened? They were selling the connection. They thought they can have the best speed in the world. Doesn't matter. They can have the cheapest rate, but people didn't trust them. People thought that they cut money without them charging their phone. Where my money is gone, I didn't make this call. And as soon as the government changed the laws that you can transfer your same number, people just switched because there was no trust. Again, they were solving the wrong problem. I mean, of course, you need better connection, you need everything, but you need to build trust here, which they were not able to do. One bad example here is Whitehead Junior. They are using the same principle in benefiting them. They are not selling the courses. No one asked them that, hey, will my kid really learn something in future, or they are just making the apps on Whitehead Junior? I mean, if people don't know what Whitehead Junior is, it's an online app for kids, 5 years old, 6 years old, where they can make apps and they can do stuff. So what they're selling dreams to parents that, you know what, your son can become Mark Zuckerberg, your son can become this, or your daughter can become this if you buy this app. They're not talking about at all what their content is. Is it really useful? Is it really good for kid or not? Doesn't matter. They're selling it to the parents, not to the kids. So they're using the same problem, that they are solving the right problem and selling the, I mean, they have identified the problem is parents have aspirations for their kids in India. So they are exploiting it like anything.
So it means the companies are targeting the parents rather than targeting the actual requirement of the users.
Right. They know what the problem is. They are not going into the solution mode. They don't care what the solution is. They just know what the problem is and they're exploiting it.
Wonderful.
So I have told all these stories until now. It's been already 10 minutes to my presentation, and okay, Reliance, Nokia, Whitehead Junior, they're selling the right and wrong problems. But the main question is, how do you identify the right problem? I mean, it's easy to say afterwards. Now I can say, oh, they failed and they failed and they failed. I mean, we all are expert in that, right? We all like to tell people why they failed because we all are experts. We become expert once people fail. But how do we identify the problems initially in the internal phase? Or we don't fail at the end of the process, but we fail initially and we fail fast. How we do this thing? So this is a practical design thinking model. This is used by Stanford. This design thinking model is used by all the top-notch companies, right? From Google, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, you name it, they do it. As a product manager, I have friends all over the world, and this is the same thing, exactly the same thing they used everywhere. Doesn't matter it's an IT problem, doesn't matter it's a non-IT problem, it's a government problem. You can use this same method to identify or to fail as fast as possible. So the cost is very low. So what happened? What happens? The first thing is empathize. What is empathize? Know your customers. When I said in the first phase that how most people solve problem is they gather the experts in the room, find the best solution, and voila, they have the best thing in the head. Not true. They might have their opinions from their perspective, from their experience, but I need to find out who will actually use my solution. If the government of India wants to increase the education level among youth, they need to talk to the youth, not the experts. I mean, experts' opinion does matter, But at the end, it's the youth who will tell what problem they are facing and why they are not able to get that education. And there can be so many stakeholders there. There can be parents, there can be infrastructure. So you have to empathize with your customers. There are a lot of methods which we teach in MBA, which we teach in a lot of places. Like we can do surveys, we can do studies, we can do research, we can do polls, we can just go and talk to them. And all of them has a different methodology to it, how you will not be biased. When you are going to talk to the customer, you are not going to validate your point, which you already have in the head. You are going very neutral to actually understand what their need is, to actually empathize with your customer, not trying to prove your point and just asking them the questions where it proves your point. I mean, you can totally do that, but trust me, then your failure rate by the time you will launch the solution will be very high. And once you have put all your resources to go to that point, there is no going back. I will tell you more examples how big companies like Tata's and Reliance, give more examples, have failed by not doing this. Then define your problem. Ideate with your group, not in your head, with a lot of people. Ideas are out there. Ideas are cheap. It's just out there. You just need to ask them. Then prototype, test. Now I'm using a lot of words here: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. What are these things? I will go to very, very basic now. Just to make sure that everyone understand and we are all on the same page. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, anything, feel free to ask. So this is again a Stanford design thinking process. When we say empathize, is interviews, just shadow them, just go with them. Be non-judgmental, as I said. When you define personas. What is personas? Let's take an example of Zoom. Why Zoom became so popular. And before that, there were a lot of companies which were doing the same thing. There was Google Meets, there was WhatsApp again, but Zoom became popular because they defined what personas use Zoom. By personas, what type of people. So Zoom had different things for the moderator. That's one persona. It has different thing for the users. It has different thing for the panelist. Because the things, if I ask, for example, the moderator, they will say, hey, I need a feature where I can just mute everyone if I want. I need a feature where I can unmute people without their no. I mean, there can be a lot of features what moderator wants. But if they ask a user who's not a moderator, he might have different things. So you have to make sure that you are taking care of each of the type of people, which we call them personas. It's not like just fancy word, personas. How we take care of each requirement from different groups of people. So I can give you one more example here. Let's say one more story. We want to design a website for Shobhit University. And yeah, we put everything out there. These are our courses. This is what we do. We did maybe some surveys also. We have a lot of customer empathy. But the requirement for students, let's say now different type of people will come to the website. There will be students who are 11th or 12th grade. There can be people who are coming for PhD. There can be parents who might be coming. And all of them would have different needs on the website. So we can't just understand in a non-judgmental way one user group. We have to understand the need of each one of them. We have to map them out so that we can fail fast here. Hey, this is completely wrong. We are failing here. Then ideate, of course, what's the best solution. Then prototype. What is prototype? I will show you in it's a live my company project. We were working on the login flow, as you can see, how people log in, how they do things here. So without even a single code here, I just cut paste the pictures here. It's pictures, there are softwares to do that. You can just check how to make prototypes. And it tells you like, if you click here, you go here. If you click here, you go here. It's just pictures one by one. And here I'm showing this to our customers before I even start any development work. Whether I've not invested any money in implementation right now, but I'm showing this that, hey, this will be our onboarding flow. This way we'll do it. And as I said, not a single code has been written. So the cost invested until now is very low. This is still pictures. You can just create diagrams and drawings and say that, hey, this is what we're going to do. For example, the government is making an app for financial inclusion. A government is making an app for tracking COVID. They just don't need to have in their head the whole solution, call experts, make the whole solutions in 1 year or in 6 months or 3 months, invest millions and millions of dollars or crores of rupees. And they're like, we did this wrong. Why didn't you fail earlier? You would have failed earlier if you would have made a prototype or tested with users, and you failed at this time. You can go back to your drawing board, come back again, test it again. And you can do this as many times as you want without investing a lot of money. So this is the real example of failing fast. We do want to fail fast because right now the cost of failing is so low. I can go back, redraw, reimagine things, and come back and again test it out. So this is a flow where people miss initially. I don't want to go big. I want to go small steps. And this is just a design thinking process here. How you think about a design, and design thinking is not the design, it's about the solution they are thinking about in any way. So let's say government is launching a pilot program for some community. They want to put it in all around the world or all around India. It's Indian government. Should they make big plans first and put millions of dollars and crores and crores and crores of rupees there and just launch it and then it fails? That's what happens, right? And we are like, oh, it failed, sorry. Why didn't they test it out in just one village and then two village and then three village, maybe village of south and north and east and west, where there are different kind of people. And if it's successful, then launch it. Because if you have to fail, you will fail very fast, very early on, and the cost of failing will be so low that you can just move forward from there on. So again, build a minimal viable product or a prototype first. There are things where you can't build a prototype like that. You have to build a minimal viable product, which is, let's say, yeah, I have already built a prototype, everything is fine. Or in some cases, I can't even build a prototype. Let's say a car. I mean, for a car, I can't show them cars in a picture. People have to drive. So I have to build a test car. But don't worry about all the things you want in the car. I want a big screen. I want shockers. I want this and I want that. What's the minimum value this thing is providing to the users or customers? Build that first, the minimum thing, invest the least amount of money, test it out, then do it. Here, as I'm talking about car, one more story. Let's talk about Tata Nano. We all know a big failure. The big dream of Tata's, we want to bring cars in every household. I'm not a car expert. I really don't know why they failed. But I know one thing, that they failed too late. They have invested, they built a factory to build Tata Nanos where they can produce 10,000 cars per month. Yeah, okay, you built a big factory, but do you even know whether you can sell 10,000 cars? They were not able to sell 10,000 cars. And the impact of that failure was so big that Tata Motors is still struggling. What happened again? Here I will say one more controversial thing. When you're doing the design process, this thing, keep the boss out of it. Keep your manager out of it, completely out of it. You know why? And the reason is, whatever the manager or the boss or the CEO says, it becomes so important for the person who's doing these things that they ignore what customer is saying. Yeah, Ratan Tata said, this is my dream. I have to do this. Doesn't matter whether user needs it or not. Doesn't matter whether it will go ahead or not. But it became so big of a dream that there was no chance to say no for anyone who was doing it. I'm 100% sure that someone in that chain already knew this won't work, or they might have an idea this might not work. I mean, no one can be 100% sure, but the chances of failure might be high. But why did that head person didn't know? Because he was defining all these things, and it was a biased opinion. Whatever a boss says, I mean, it's such a senior to me, it becomes not an opinion, it becomes a fact for me. I become biased. So maybe Ratan Tata shouldn't have been that passionate about it. Maybe a person who was doing it should have done more testing about how should we market it, how should we build it. So Tata Nano didn't fail, of course. I mean, it failed, but in this current form, and they didn't have the energy left or the resources left to reiterate it. But if they would have failed a lot faster, a lot earlier in the phase of designing, in the phase of marketing, then they might have had more resources or more chances to iterate the car or to have a different kind of branding or something and then relaunch it. But they failed so big, they didn't have the energy or the resources left. Same thing happened with Nokia, same thing happened with so many companies. So when we say build a prototype, what does it mean? Interestingly, this is the first Facebook page, what you're seeing on the screen right now. They didn't build the whole Facebook. They tested out the waters first. Hey, I'm building this. Does it even work? Before I spend all my energy. This is what Uber app looked like. There was guys in San Francisco. They were like, let's connect cab drivers through their phone, user's phone. Let's do it. There weren't a lot of features there. It was an MVP because they know if it fails here. And we would have just invested $500,000 and not billions and billions, because if it fails, then it wouldn't have a chance to come back. This is what Airbnb first page looked like. It was called Air Bed and Breakfast. Two guys, Brian and Joe, in San Francisco. They were struggling with their rent. They just made this website themselves, and they were like, hey, we want to rent our room, and there is an air mattress, not even a proper bed out there. Does someone want to rent it out? There were people, and they were like, okay, they got 3 bookings. In 2 days, there is a need. They tested out their idea. Now they can go full-fledged. Yes, people will give them money. They won't fail big. So this is the whole process where you iterate things. You don't go big initially. You have a mindset that I have to be very unbiased. My ideas can be big. My dreams can be big. Doesn't mean the user needs to have it. We teach that. Dream big. And once you have committed to something, you have to do it. Just work hard. You have to work hard, but you have to be flexible to know whether my dream is actually a dream, because dreams can change. My dream has to be broad enough and not be focused. I don't want to make a house like this. I want to have a dream where it's like, I want to have a very good living. So you have to ask the problem behind the problem. When I say you have to ask the problem behind the problem, let's give one more example here. We are doing this interactive industry session here. What's the problem? And government comes and tells universities, you know what? You have less of interaction with the industry, increase it. Okay, that's a problem. I agree. Is it a real problem? Why we need industry interaction? Is it because students are not practical? Is it because they are not they can't get a job once they are out of the university? Companies like TCS have to train them for 6 months. But what's the real problem here? Because the solutions can be many. And when we ask our customers, they just tell us, we want this, we want this, we want that. Yeah, but why you want this? What you are actually trying to achieve? And there are books and there are articles on this, which is problem behind the problem. I mean, PBP, like there are articles by Harvard, there are whole books about it, because sometimes it's not easy to reach to the real problem. And then only we can build a solution, which is the best solution, because solution might be completely different than what we are imagining. Let's say Indian government says we want to build a website or any place where blind people can book trains. Okay, so the problem is that you have to build a website. No, the problem is we need to provide a way for blind people to book trains. Maybe the solution is they just need an automated calling system because they can't see, so they can at least call, right? So I will spend all my energy and resources in building a website where it will speak out things from different areas and direct me. But a simple solution, just make an app where you just say that, hey, I need to book a ticket and this is my credit card number, it's a secured voice call, and they will just book a train. So the solution was wrong solution for the problem. So reach the problem first. And this is the whole Agile platform we call about. So when we talk about Agile, until now, I have not even talked about implementation. I have just talked about making prototypes, finding the right problem, empathize with the customer, define the problem, think, ideate, how I ideate, how we ideate. Again, one more example from my company. We had a problem and we were like, yeah, as a product manager, it was totally up to me. I will go more focused on it to show you around, but so I can totally come out like, hey, you know what? I found out the problem and this is the right solution. Let's go about it. No, I mean, for me, I do have ideas, but there is so much out there lying there with engineers, with designers, with researchers. So we did a session that, hey, there are 3 areas: search, login. You have to, for example, you have to make an account in a software. There is some engineering problems. Let's come together and put their ideas. I put a lot of stickers there. I mean, usually I can do that on the whiteboard, but we are in the time of COVID, so we couldn't meet. We use a software help, and yeah, they put out their ideas. A lot of ideas out there. And at this time, every idea at every level is welcome. And that's why I say sometimes maybe boss is not the right person to be in these kind of meetings, because if he says this is the right idea, maybe everyone will have a biased opinion. Oh yeah, this is the right idea. Right? At this moment, his opinions do matter, We will take the opinions in consideration because that person is an expert in the area. But again, I will take them as opinions, not as fact. Have to be conscious about it. Then I gave them stars, and I'm like, all of you have put your ideas. There were around 15 people in this meeting. Now you have stars. You have only 3 stars. Choose your best ideas, and it can be anyone's ideas, because now I gave them some time to put the ideas first, then read all the ideas what is put together by everyone, and vote your best ideas, maybe 2 stars or 3 stars. And we have a very good picture, which is very unbiased, which is not coming from a very narrow solution or just my experience, coming from broad. Came out the solution, okay, we need to have this, we might need to have, there are a lot of stars here, so what is this idea? When we came up with the idea, we test it out. There can be a lot of ways. As I said, there you can make prototypes, you can do surveys, you can do pilot studies if it's a government program. There's a lot of ways, test it out. Once we have done that, then it comes about development, where the big word of agile. What is agile? And we are like, we have to be agile. It comes in implementation phase. So agile is even when we have done a lot of work on design thinking of what the problem is, what can be the solution, but the implementation also. Should I just go ahead and build something for 2 years and 3 years, and then if it fails massively? Or should I force myself to do things in a small step? Because if I fail in 1 step, I fail in 2nd step. So the whole ideology here is, don't try to have a big vision, but don't have very particular points. I see some question and answers, so I will go back after this slide and then let's attend some questions. There might be, you have a big vision first, you are thinking about it. I want to increase customer satisfaction, but how would I do it? I'm not very stagnant and inflexible about it. Then I find out 5 ideas, I tested it out, I'm implementing in a lot of different steps. Again, one example I will give you how I do that. For example, Pipedrive told me we have to improve search. There are a lot of professors might be out there, students. We can have a lot of theories, like we can improve from where users can search, what users can search, are we showing the results in the right order? These are all theories. We did a lot of surveys, we did some whiteboard sessions. These are like surveys, problems, a lot of things we did. But at the end, we will not do all the things together. I force myself as a product manager that I will not do anything for more than 2.5 months. That's the maximum time, because I know if I include the cost of all my engineer salary, my salary, office space, 2 months of time with 5 engineers is like, let's say, $500,000 or $1 million. So I don't want to spend more than $1 million before I test out the solution and then I do it again. So I divided the whole things into different phases. I will do first one part, I will launch it, I will test it out. Like now I'm launching it in real. We have done coding and everything, and there we need experts, we need system design experts, we need all those people. And then once I test it out, then I will go to the next step. And if something is wrong here, I will reiterate. I will go back to the customers, ask them solution problems again. Because if I fail here at the end, and if I do all this, like if I made everything together and I failed here, I'm sure I will get fired. I've invested $5 million of the company without any result. And I'm like, you know what? I failed. So when I give the example of Tata Nano, if I call the experts and I tell them that, hey, you know why we failed? I won't ask them that question. I will only ask them one thing. Why didn't we recognize the failure earlier? Why, when we have built the whole factory and we had a fight in West Bengal and we went to Gujarat and 10,000 cars and we launched it with a big bang, we spent half of our company resources and we failed. At that time, I mean, we should have recognized it a lot earlier. I still don't know the reason. I'm not an expert, but I just know that failing that late can end the whole company, can end the whole product, can end so many things, because it's failing too late. It's too big of a fail. Fail fast, learn faster. Here. So this is again a iteration process where, I mean, there will be again experts who can know better than me. I'm doing this process in my ways in my company, but they can be like, okay, this is sprint planning, how you do it. I'm not going in deep into it. They're like, every of this topic, we can go very, very deep, how to actually do those small iterations, how to force yourself to make an MVP, minimal viable product, how to do those user interviews, how to do the brand management. And that's what we learn. I trust my people there. If the question is about system design, then I trust my system design people. I trust them, but I force them to have us to go in a small steps. I tell them that, hey, I'm not a system design person. I'm not a Java developer, maybe. I'm not this. So I take your decision. Whatever you're saying is, I completely agree. But as a product manager, I force them that, hey, whatever you are doing, you're not doing more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month. After doing that, you have to launch something, test out, then do more. So I'm just here as a product manager, making sure unbiased, I'm taking care of this whole process where I'm trying to remove all the biases. I'm trying to be very neutral, trying to make sure we are doing it stepwise and everything. But maybe we can take questions now. There were some of them, if there are.
Sure, sure. Professor Shashikant Gupta is there who is appreciating you. And his question is, life is pretty stressful around here. It's one failure after another. And every failure is a cost. What do you comment on this?
Yeah, life is stressful, but failure is stressful if it's not expected. But when I am at this time trying to fail myself, when I'm testing the prototype, I really, really want to fail. I really want to find some flaws as soon as possible, because then I know my failure rate in future will be bigger. So, like, to be honest, failure is inevitable. You will fail, I will fail, everyone will fail. So the only thing we can do is to reduce our stress level when we fail. If we fail really big, it will be so tough for us to come back and bounce back. So we only have to ensure that we fail so low that we can bounce back again and again and again and again. Then
it means we should learn from every failure.
Definitely, we should learn from every failure, but again, it should be a small fail. We should have to fail as early as possible, because even if we might learn, it will be too late. I mean, learning is always there, but learning too late can destroy anyone.
This is Mr. Raj, this is my question. What do you suggest to identify the process to identify the right problem? Because we sometimes know the problem, but to identify that this problem is going to be the correct, or the absolute problem, is there any measure or criteria to identify the correct problem?
I think the best criteria is to talk to your customers unbiased. Don't try to validate your problem and say that, hey, so I think your problem is this. And most people are like, yeah, I think my problem is this. But if you ask them, hey, what you do in this area, how you do things, then you will find the right problem. So the only way to identify the right problem is talk to your customers in a very unbiased way, without having any your personal opinions at that time. And maybe if you even get the problem wrong, but you go with a prototype, you will get to know, I identified the wrong problem because people are not using my solution. So it simply means my solution is not solving the right problem. Otherwise they would have used it, right? Okay. So this whole process of iterativeness is to identify the right problem before we actually go to the implementation.
And provide them with prototype and keep on iterating.
Yeah.
Okay. The second question again from Professor Shishikant Gupta. Embracing failure is a means to a successful end. Instead of fearing failure, become empowered by it. This phenomena is somewhere still missing in Indian culture.
That's true, because I think we are very emotional about solving things. And I mean, being emotional should give you motivation to work hard, but it shouldn't make you attached to the whole process, because as soon as you're attached, you will miss the very obvious red flags. So I think it's just about our culture, where we are being taught in a way that you have to do this and you have to do this and you will dream big, you don't have to fail, because failing is a bad word. But what I have learned in 6-7 years of my careers in different countries and working with different people, if you are okay to fail and if you are okay to unbiased opinions, people will tell you early on, Amber, this is not going to work. You know that? I'm like, yeah, maybe you're right, because I'm not that passionate about it. And passion is good to motivate yourself, but don't be attached to the problem and solution.
Correct, correct.
So I think this is a structure of thinking. So when I'm telling you all these things, and I'm saying that it's being used everywhere in the world. So it's not like just they are using the prototype. There can be a lot of ways to test out an idea. And there are a lot of books out there you can read about them. And prototype is one of the ways, just one of the small ways, which is an example. But it's just a thinking where I'm constantly trying to find problems and not be so motivated and not be like, yeah, this is the right solution. I have to do this. But I'm always like, I have to do this. I have my vision fixed and I have a very grand vision, maybe it doesn't matter. But still, I'm always ready to fail. And I'm trying to find the points of failure in my mechanism by doing this user interviews, by doing this, showing this prototype. So when I'm going to the customer with the prototype, it's only because I'm expecting to fail, because if I'm not expecting to fail, I would just build a solution. Why I'm even spending that energy to go back with the prototype and doing some more interviews and testing and pilot programs? Because somewhere in my head, I know there might be things I'm missing. There might be things which I might fail. And that's why I'm going back again, this loop, before I'm 80–90% sure. And it's just not my opinion, but a fact. So this is the whole agile process, which keeps on going on.
One more question, this is somewhat related to your personal life. Mr. Ravinder Bharti is there, because you work with several companies and you worked as a product manager, you basically assist, to provide or to identify the right problem in an unbiased manner. How does a product manager have a greater control of his or her work? Because you work with several companies, so definitely you are interacting with the same kind of problem in different companies. So are your ideas basically remain biased with other companies also, or you basically change with the scenario?
Yeah, so this process is not dependent on the idea.
Right.
Why I can say this: the previous company I was working with was on game on a phone. It was a slot game, you just press in game. And the current company is a sales software. It's B2B, like we sell this to other businesses. That was B2C, where our major customers were 50 years old women who just used to download games and play. So different areas, but the way of thinking is same. The process of thinking is same. So it's just the way of thinking, how you do things. And that's why it's called design thinking. It's not a solution yet. It's just how you do things and not what you are doing. So it's independent of the areas, independent of whatever you do. And people are paying these consultants. Like, I mean, every one of you know that there are companies like Deloitte, BCG, McKinsey, they are doing consulting work and they charge millions and millions. A person comes from outside. There's a company CEO or someone that tells them a problem that, you know what, our company revenue is going down. We don't know why. Our market share is going down. We don't know why. Indian government calls consultants and experts that, you know what, this is happening and we don't know what to do about it. What these consultants do, for which they are getting paid so handsomely, they just come in, they don't care about the problem. I mean, they don't care about, they don't need the knowledge of that area. They're not an expert. They are an expert of that problem solving process. They know who to talk to, and there will be experts to give their opinions. They know how to be unbiased, and they know how to test that idea. And that's why those consultants are called. They don't need expertise areas knowledge, and which is like the beauty of it.
Wonderfully answered. Mr. Raj, one more question is there from Dr. Prashant Kumar. After any failure, some questions raised in anyone's mind, like, what could I have done differently so that I have entertained success in early stage?
Yeah, so after every failure, we always have to learn. And that's why once we launch anything or we do anything in life, we have to be conscious of, yeah, we can fail, and we have to be conscious of, let's try to find the points from where we can fail. So, because the things which are successful will be successful, no one can change that. But if we are focusing on the points where we can fail, and that focus has to be at the different stages of the process. So I won't have focus on the failure once I'm very near to the launch of my feature, because at that time I have done all my research and my only focus is on success at that time. But in the research phase, my focus is only on the failure at that time. So, I mean, it's a different mindset which you have to have at the different stage or at different life cycle of a thing. So you can't have the same mindset. Otherwise, what will happen is you are very near to the launch and you're like, I will fail, I will fail. I'm like, no, I won't, because I have done my testing. I have talked to my customers, and I'm sure that this is the right solution for the right problem. So I have had a problem first, then I validated the problem, then I made a solution for the problem, then I validated the solution, and then I went to implementation. So if someone doesn't fail in that part, it simply means they have done something wrong. I mean, most people should fail at that time, and the cost is low.
Every failure is associated with the cost, and we need to optimize the cost.
Yeah.
Wait, my question, Mr. Raj, this is my question. Recently, we came to know about the WhatsApp. The security issues were associated with the WhatsApp, and the users were shifting from WhatsApp to some other platform to have the chat. So why basically it happened? Because while designing WhatsApp and all that, they might have these all concerned issues, because security is going to be the major issue. And recently the same thing happened with the Facebook, that was related to the big data, or you can say that they shared the personal profile or the information of the users to the companies. So how basically these kind of problems, because they come after the implementation of a product.
Yeah.
So how to rectify and correct these kind of problems so that the business can again come to their products?
Yeah, I think the first step here is to actually know that this is a problem, right? I mean, some companies can just say, yeah, we are fine, this is not a problem. So first thing is to recognize the problem. And when we talk about Facebook or WhatsApp, there must be a product manager for security. Like even for Pipedrive, I take care of search as well as security also. So there will be one guy or one team who's taking care of the whole security thing of Facebook or WhatsApp, which is again the same company now, and the security system must be together. So that product manager somehow missed it, or he or she didn't recognize the changing scenario of technology. I mean, 2 years back, I didn't thought about security, and that's why they were like, WhatsApp is failing. There was people want to go to the app which what you're talking about is called Telegram. People want to go to Telegram, and like it's more secure and everything. So this is what the problem changed in the mind of the user so fast. Like earlier, we were talking about maybe something else when it comes to WhatsApp, and security immediately became so important for all of us, and which was not there before. So that it was missed. But you have to recognize it as soon as possible. I mean, people can miss things. It's just about, yeah, okay, once I have recognized it's a problem, now I have to work to solve it.
Wonderful.
For the way.
Good. It means whenever you interact with the problems, then it needs to be handled and easily solved. One more question is there from Dr. Abhinav Shrivastava. In some cases, a small success leads to a big failure with exceptions. In that case, fail fast is applicable or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally true that a small success can still lead to failure. Those cases are low. And when we talk about all these design thinking, we cannot 100% say that, hey, you apply this and you will be success 100% of the time. Like every startup in the Silicon Valley is using the same methods, but they still fail. The only thing is that the cost of failure would be low. That's one thing we have to take in mind. Fail is inevitable. And the second thing is the chance of failure, the percentage of failure will be low. So the cost and percentage, that's what we are trying to do. But we have more methods of trying to like if we have a small success, we are still failing, then we are missing one point. And that's why this next slide is like, how do we know we are successful? So we launch a solution. Let's talk about maybe one more example. Here, I can just bring up very ordinary example again of, let's say, Tata Nano. I mean, I'm using that example a lot. Maybe I should change my example, but yeah, let's go with it. If I say that my success rate is I need to sell 10,000 cars, right? But I invested hundreds crores rupee in the marketing for selling 10,000. Then am I really successful? I'm not, right? Because I spent so much money to sell those 10,000 cars that no, I mean, it's really not a success. So we have to define our success. what is the success? And this is one of the most toughest part of my job, to actually know what success means for us. Is it adoption? Is it this should happen? So let's say we want to increase the satisfaction of Shobhit University students when they are coming up or online these seminars. How should we measure it? There is no easy way to measure the satisfaction, right? So let's say we did everything and we had a great product, but then we're like, okay, then my question is, how do you know you are successful? Like, do you have some data around it? I mean, how should I trust you? I mean, you just say you are successful. So once we have those data and KPIs, and that's why we talk about defining OKRs and KPIs. What is OKRs? Objective and key results. So we have predefined our objectives, and each small success is going towards that objective and key results. If it is not moving towards that objective, then we are doing something wrong. And what key performance indicators are basically, let's say for Facebook, their key performance indicator can be that a person spends more than 1 hour on Facebook. And if it goes below than that, then they're doing something wrong, and they will get immediately that that number has fallen below, that number is going up. So we are continuously measuring change. One quote I really like is, these interviews and decisions are fuel for ideas. When I talk to experts, I get great ideas. But for me, data is the fuel for decision. I need hard facts. I mean, I value opinions and ideas, but ultimately I need to know how to check those, how to put numbers on those ideas, because it's so easy to know when the numbers are going up and down, and you can immediately know I'm doing something wrong with this thing. And that's what companies like, again, Amazon, Facebook, Google, they do that. Netflix, for example, they used to say that if someone has watched 70% of our video, then we say that the video has been watched. Now they have decreased that number to, like, I think 20%. And they say if someone has seen the video 20% of the time, length of the video, then we say that video has been watched. And they are saying, you know what, a person watches 10 videos in a day on average, or people watch 5 videos, which can be movies, which can be series, which can be anything. They have seen 5 things in a week. And as soon as the number drops, they know they are doing something wrong. I mean, something has happened in the app.
Wonderful. Mr. Raj, there are a queue of questions, not from MIT University itself, but we are having, several virtual audience from NITs and,
Sure.
from other universities. My last question, because we are having another meeting at 2, so there is a thin line between success and failure. There is very thin line. This is a question from, from the external entity, not from the Shobhit University viewers. There is a thin line between failure and success. So what are the measures to identify the failure and success in a single go?
If I'm getting this question right, it is that, maybe I'm wrong about the question, but what I think the question is, there is never 100% success and there is never 100% failure. So it's possible that we launch something and we are successful somewhere, but we also failed in some parts.
So I think the satisfaction, if the customer is satisfied, then that represents the success. If the customer is still having the opinions or the questions, it means we need to improve that product. Correct?
Half correct.
Half correct.
Why I say half correct is because for every product, there will be people who doesn't like it, who like it. So what we have to do, that's why when I put numbers on it, there are so many different KPIs I put on my launch, that I know, okay, these 2 are successful, these 2 are not. And maybe these 2 are not successful in this market. So now when I launch a product, it's not like I launch it, I'm done with it. I try to optimize it for different user groups. So I say that, okay, I launched a milk flavor in the market and some people loved it, some people hated it. So maybe the people who hated it, should I launch some other milk flavor or should I change something in it? Because some people did love it, right? And maybe that number is 40% people loved it. So should I just say that, oh, it's successful or failure? Should I just remove the milk flavor from the market? No, I should need to optimize it. So there's nothing called complete success or failure. But firstly, we are again, like in a summary again, we validating the problem, we validating the solution, we launching it, and we know the solution will be good for some people, good for some not. And we are not launching everything for everyone. We have a target audience in our mind. So if someone from that target audience says, I don't like it, it's valuable for me. If someone from other target group says that I don't like it, I'm like, then I knew it. he won't like it or she won't like it, because my product was not for that person at all.
Thank
So
you.
it's fine for me.
Mr. Raj, thank you, because we are running short of time.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Raj, for giving a wonderful insight on the topic with your real-time experience and exposure. You truly discussed, we must celebrate our failures, share your failures, no matter big or small. Remain unbiased. Do not include your boss in your problems so that you can identify the problem correctly. It was a nice interactive session with you, and we trust and hope, to have more interactions, perhaps in person in near future. We again thank you on behalf of the Shobhit University management, sparing your quality time, and we're looking forward to have, more discussions in the near future. Thank you, Mr. Raj. I'm having, certain set of questions which I will be sending you on your mail ID. So thank you again for, to have a connection with us. Looking forward again to have interaction.
Sure, it was great to talk to everyone here. And if anyone has any questions, they can connect me on LinkedIn, on anywhere, and I will be glad if I can help anyone out.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambar. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Have a great day.